this video, I'm going to show you how to hack an Android phone using a zero-click Bluetooth vulnerability. In this example, I've got a Raspberry Pi 5 running Kali Linux. I've simply connected the monitor to the laptop so we can see on screen what's happening on the Raspberry Pi. Okay, so on the Raspberry Pi, I'm going to use the command python 3 BlueDucky.py. That's the Python script that allows us to attack the phone. We asked to enter the MAC address. I'm going to press enter so that the MAC address can be scanned. Previous MAC addresses that were discovered are stored in a file. So we can either go and rediscover devices or use a device that was previously discovered. In this example, I'm going to attack device 4, a OnePlus 7T. So I'm going to say yes. And the device that I want to attack is number 4. Now we asked, is this the MAC address that we want to attack? And the answer is yes. Now various scripts could be used. In this example, I'm going to select 2, which is payload example 4. And notice what happens on the phone. Commands are now being sent to that phone. And what you'll notice is that I've been able to rickroll you by sending commands to the phone through Bluetooth from the Raspberry Pi. This is a HID type attack where we are sending keystrokes to the phone through Bluetooth as if we had a keyboard connected to the phone. This attack cannot be stopped on older Android devices. So if you have an Android 10 device or earlier, you can't stop this type of attack. If you've got an Android 11 device, you can use a security patch to stop this, or you need a later version of Android. So a modern device using Android 14 as an example will not be susceptible to this attack. However, there are many devices out there running older versions of Android. Not everyone has the latest and greatest phone. So people with older devices can't stop this attack. I'll list the CVE below this video in more details, but I actually interviewed OccupyTheWeb about this attack and he explained more information about it, how to install the software to set this up and how to get it running. It's a very simple attack. In this example, I'm using an Asus Bluetooth adapter, which I'll link below for this attack. Other people have used the built-in Bluetooth adapter in a Raspberry Pi 4. Didn't work for me for a Raspberry Pi 5, but there are various adapters available out there that you could test this attack against. Now, as always, do not attack devices that you don't own or have permission to attack. In this example, this is my Android phone. This is my Raspberry Pi 5. I have given myself permission to attack my own device to show you the issues with older versions of Android. Unfortunately, in life today, you need to update your devices when security vulnerabilities are discovered like this. You need to upgrade your version of Android. Older Android devices cannot be updated, unfortunately, which means that if you are concerned about this problem, you need to buy a new device or turn off Bluetooth on your device whenever possible. Okay, so without further ado, let's talk to OccupyTheWeb and he can explain more details about this attack. I really want to thank Brilliant for sponsoring this video. Do you know how technology works? As an example, how strong passwords work? Should you be using a alphanumeric password or just passwords with digits in them or passwords with alphanumeric plus special characters? But do you actually know why? And do you know what a difference it makes when you change your password length as an example? Brilliant has this interactive course that shows you how strong passwords work. Also has other fantastic courses here like teaching you how wireless communication works or how a GPS works or how recommendation engines work. You can get access to all the courses on Brilliant's website for free for 30 days using my link below, brilliant.org/David Bombal. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. I really believe that education changes lives, and I want to thank Brilliant for putting together such fantastic courses, but also for supporting my channel.
So today we're going to work on a recent vulnerability in the Bluetooth stack that allows an outsider to be able to inject commands into Bluetooth. Right? So inject commands through Bluetooth into the system. And this particular vulnerability, let's see, there's actually like 4 vulnerabilities that came out in December. So they're pretty recent. They're only a few months old. It's CVE 2023-4586. And that's the basic CVE. It actually applies to any Bluetooth device. The scripts to be able to inject commands are slightly different. So we're going to be working with the Android one, which I think might be the most interesting one, because despite what people might think, Android makes up about 80% of all of the mobile devices on the planet. I often hear people say, "Oh, it's like half Apple and half Android." Like, no.
If you live in the US, yeah.
Yeah, if you're in the U.S., maybe in the U.S., and maybe in other industrialized nations, but in the world, most phones are Android. So let's focus on most devices, which are Android devices, and there's lots of other flaws that we can address in the iPhone, but this one we're going to talk about in Android.
That's
and
great.
This one allows us to go in. It's a zero-click attack. Zero-click attack against Bluetooth. Now, Bluetooth has a range of usually about 100 meters. Okay, so you can connect to devices within 100 meters, but it is possible with proper antennas and a repeater that people have gotten Bluetooth to extend as much as a kilometer, right? So that's, in English terms, what's that? The 0.6 of a mile, right? Yep. So it's a good distance if you wanted to attack these systems. But generally, it's going to be 100 meters, which means your office, your home, your school, okay, maybe your neighborhood, your neighbors. That's about as far as you can go. It's interesting that maybe I should leave this to later, but one of the things that many years ago, I guess it's maybe 10, 12 years ago, I had a company in Las Vegas come to me and they said, what we'd like you to do is we'd like you to send an advertisement to everybody's phone who passes this corner through their Bluetooth device, right, through their phones. And if you've ever been to Las Vegas, and I know you have, right, there's thousands of people walking down the street, right?
Exactly.
And as you walk down the street, there's people trying to bring you into a hotel or a bar or strip club or whatever it happens to be, right? And so this company approached me and said, what we want you to do is to send an ad to everybody's phone, and so to bring them into our place. And I told them no, but after I was working with this particular exploit, I went, this would have been perfect for that, because what we can do is we can send that phone to their website. We can inject commands into their phone to open up the website of whoever you want to sell the product to. So let's kind of keep that in mind. And it can be done. It can be used for advertisement. It can be done maliciously. Lots of things that it can be done for.
Could you download malware? So by sending them to a website, get something downloaded to the phone?
Well, what you can do is you can send them to a website, right? And then, of course, once they're in a website, okay, then you can go ahead and have them click on a link, what have you. But you can only send the URL to their phone. You can't necessarily inject, but you can inject commands into the phone. Like if you really wanted to be malicious, you could inject, an RM-RF, right, into the phone and wipe everything out on the entire phone, right? This would be very malicious, right? So all of a sudden people open up their phone and it's a brick. But what we're going to do today is we're going to just send them to a website, that everybody wants to go to, and that's Hackers Arise.
Well done.
So we're not doing anything malicious. We're actually doing something really beneficial for them. We're taking them to the site that everybody should be at, right?
I love it.
So let's get started with this then, and it's going to take a few steps, right? But one of the things that you got to keep in mind, right, is that Bluetooth has been around for, I guess, now 25 years. I think it came out in 1999, and it's a protocol that's designed to basically connect, what's often referred to as a piconet or a small network. Okay, a very small network. 100 meters is pretty big. That's a pico.
Yep.
And the specifications say that it has to reach at least 10 meters, but most developers will build in greater range than that just because they want it to be able to connect easily. So let's go ahead and let's do a few downloads. And one of the key downloads is there's a library that's available to us it's off GitHub. It's called BlueZ. Okay, so that's the first thing we need to do is get this. Go sudo apt. To do any kind of Bluetooth hacking, you really need this library, okay, of Bluetooth tools, and it's called BlueZ. Those people who've taken my classes or read some of my books will see that I've used this in the past. But people underappreciate how important Bluetooth is and what a important vector it might be into the mobile device. Right? I mean, there's a lot of attention given to things like Pegasus, which is is a zero-click exploit to iPhones and other phones, okay, but primarily for iPhones. And that's it's a very high-level exploit. These Bluetooth exploits are generally pretty simple and easy to implement. All right, so and everybody has Bluetooth on their phones, their devices, their speakers, their TVs, your cars, right? So you probably connect your Bluetooth in your car. So this Bluetooth is everywhere. So it's one that I think needs to be given additional attention. So we're going to go to GitHub. All right, I have all of these tools already installed. So, but I'm just want to give the viewers the URLs. BlueZ. Okay, so there it says it's already exists. I've already installed it. Okay. So once we have this installed, this has a lot of tools that we need to do reconnaissance and other things on Bluetooth. So if you're going ahead and download it, you just got to go CD to Pi. Well, let's make sure that, so you can see it's right here. Here's the directory that it's created. So we want to go there. All right, Pi BlueZ. Let's take a look inside there. And there's a bunch of tools in here. And there's really a lot. We're just going to scratch the surface of what you can do with this particular tool. But then you need to go ahead and do the Python sudo Python 3 setup. You can see the setup right here.
Yeah.
All right, setup Pi install. All right. And then we'll go ahead and go through the installation script. All right. Good. All right. So then once we have this, there's a number of tools that are built into here. All right. And one of them, probably one of the most important ones, is HCI or HCI config. Similar to I'm going to go ahead and clear my screen. We all know that IF config, right, in Linux, or IP config in Windows, right, shows us all of the interfaces. There's also a similar tool in BlueZ that shows us all of the interfaces and enables and disables the interfaces, and it's called HCI config. And so what we need to do first is that we need to go ahead and enable the Bluetooth device. I've got an external. This is not using my the native Bluetooth on. I've purchased an external Bluetooth device, and this is a virtual machine. So what I'm going to do here is first of all, I'm going to take it up. I'm going to enable it. All right, that's the terminology. Go HCI config. All right. And it's very similar to like in Linux where you go IF config ETH0 up, okay, or IP up, ETH0 up. Let's go HCI. I'm assuming that's the name of my device, okay, HCI. So it's either HCI1, HCI0, HCI2. Okay, looks like it's up.
What's the device that you're using then?
It's a external Bluetooth adapter.
Is it a specific? Can you give us the brand or the specific one?
I think this one's Panda. All right, but the key is the chipset, Cambridge Silicon Radio. I found that these chipsets work best for this type of work. And then if I go LS USB, okay, I can see it right here. It's a Bluetooth dongle in HCI mode. Then what I can do is if I want to go ahead and search, for instance, for all of the Bluetooth devices in my range, okay, what I can do is part of this suite of tools, I can go use sudo. There's a tool called HCI tool, and it's scan. So let's see if this will allow me to see which Bluetooth devices are within range and are accessible to me. It's kind of like doing maybe a ping scan or an Nmap scan, where you're going out to see what devices are out there and which ones are available to you. We'll go ahead and run this and see which ones are. We should probably pick up some of my neighbors' machines as well. Let's see. Here they come. Oh, okay. Looks like, we got a Galaxy Note 10 there. We got a speaker system. Looks like a TV. Looks like my neighbor's TV. Let's try it again and see if we can pick up any more. Notice that these are MAC addresses of those devices, and that's really what we need to be able. Remember, MAC addresses are globally unique. Oh, only picked up 2 this time. The Galaxy Note is not. One of the things that you'll find is that if you run this tool, it'll pick up some sometimes and not at others. So, but all you need to know is the MAC address. Okay, so even if it doesn't pick it up, if you got the MAC address, you're good. It looks like we have the MAC address of a few devices here.
Is there a specific phone that you're looking to attack or specific device?
Oh, this one right here. This is a Galaxy Note 10. It's pretty new. Yeah, I'm just kind of taking it out. Yeah, we have 4 of them this time. See? So once again, this is how we find the Bluetooth devices that are out there. We can get a lot more information about the device, okay, by taking the MAC address, okay, and then going ahead and putting it into a tool called SDP. I'm going to use sudo SDP tool. Browse. I think a lot of folks don't recognize that there's a lot of differences between Bluetooth devices, and we can pick up a lot of that information. So what we've done is we've gone into the device to find out all its capabilities. Right?
Nice.
And this is part. If you're trying to hack a system, the more you know about it, the better. And one of the things that maybe not that well known, but you and I talked about a little bit in an earlier video, is that one of the classes of Bluetooth devices is a human interface device, a HID.
Yeah.
Okay. So human interface device is a Bluetooth keyboard or Bluetooth mouse. So if I can connect to your Bluetooth device, okay, if I can connect to your Bluetooth device and present myself as a keyboard, then I can inject commands. And that's essentially what this particular tool does. It allows you to authenticate against the Bluetooth, and then once you've authenticated, inject commands into it. So this kind of basic Bluetooth reconnaissance that we're done this far. But you can learn a lot about. This is an Android network access point right there. Okay, it tells us a lot about what it is. This is a Android Note 10, so it's a pretty new. It's not latest and greatest, but it's pretty new and it's unpatched. So we got a few more things. That's kind of basic Bluetooth reconnaissance. Okay, that would be the first thing you need to do before you go any farther. I'm going to clear my screen, and we're going to install a few more tools. All right, here's a bunch of the dependencies that you need. I'm going to put them on the screen. So oftentimes when we're using a new tool, we have to go ahead and get all of the libraries that are necessary. That's what these are. These are just libraries that are necessary for our tool to work. All right, you can see it's already the latest, already installed. All right, then we have to go and do a couple more things, and then we can get started here. First of all, we're going to have to go ahead and a couple more commands before we can actually get our tool to work. This is going ahead and installing. In this case, it's going to be the ADDR, BD, Bluetooth ADDR, BlueZ. All right, let's go ahead and hit that. It already exists. It's not an empty directory, it tells us. And then we're going to have to go ahead and compile that or on our machine. So we're going to use GCC to compile. I'm just going to copy and paste and compile it. And then we're going to go ahead and copy, sudo cp copy bdaddr to where else but user local bin. Why user local bin? Because that is in the path directory. That means that we can then use it from any place on our system, all right, because it's going to be in the path. If you don't understand paths, go ahead and, I think it's chapter 8 in Linux Basics for Hackers, take a look at that. And then last step, okay, before we get started, is to go ahead and install a tool called BlueDucky. BlueDucky is simply an implementation of a proof of concept that was developed, and they just put it into a nice, easy-to-use Python script that we can attack these systems. And there it is right there, BlueDucky, a group called Pentest Functions. Let's go ahead and hit enter, and we're good. Now let's go ahead and go CD into BlueDucky. Yeah. And take a look inside there. Okay. And there's our BlueDucky right there. There's some payloads in here. Payloads are what you can go ahead and inject into the system. Now, one of the things that I found in using this is that depending upon what your Bluetooth adapter's name is, I remember mine is HCI0 or HCI1. A lot of times mine will come up as HCI1. This particular tool is designed to use HCI0.
Okay.
So if you wanted to change it, I'll show you how to do that. The first time I used it, I had to do this. And now that I might have to change this one back. Okay, but let's go ahead and sudo, okay, mouse pad. And then we'll go BlueDucky. I'm just going ahead and opening it up in a text editor, BlueDucky py. All right, here is the script. If we scroll down a little bit, it's like 700 lines or something like that, the script. So it's a pretty sophisticated script. Let's see, it's right. Okay, here's the payloads. And there it is right there. It defaults to HCI0. So if you've installed your Bluetooth adapter and it comes up as HCI1, which mine did initially, then you're going to have to change this to HCI1. That's not a big deal, but you can just go ahead and change it to 1, save it. You're going to have to open it up as root using sudo. And once you've done that, then it'll then use whatever adapter that you want to use. All right, so that's done.
You changed it, right?
I did not change. I left it at mine is this time on this machine, right? I think the first time I did it on another machine, and it went to my adapter was recognized as HCI1. So that's why I put that in there, because I know that cool. on one of my machines, it came up as HCI1. Usually the very first device should come up as HCI0, and the second one HCI1. And it might have been, I don't remember, but it might have been that I had another Bluetooth device in there.
Yeah.
Right. And so the second one is going to be HCI1. Let's go ahead and you can see that we don't have permissions here. Okay. BlueDucky py. Let's go ahead and give ourselves permissions to use it. And let's see, I'm going to go 755. That's kind of my standard. All right. And so now it should look good. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Now let's go sudo. All right. And Python 3 BlueDucky. I think the name is a play on Bluetooth and
Rubber ducky.
So rubber ducky, right? So it's kind of like a rubber ducky, but it's remote and it's 0 click. All right. So let's go ahead and run it. There it is. It says, what is a target address? Okay, leave blank and we'll scan for you. So if we don't know the target address, I do have it because when I already did scan. But let's go ahead and just assume we don't have it, all right, and see if it can find our devices. And then once we find the devices, we can just go ahead and select, okay, which one device we want to go ahead and hack. Let's go ahead and hit enter. So what it's doing is it's using the BlueZ to go ahead and scan for all the Bluetooth devices in the area. And so you can see we have a Android device right here. It says, do you want to use one of these known devices? Yeah, I do want to use one of those. Enter the number of the device, 1, and go, yes. I want to use the first payload, yes. But beautiful.
That's great.
Okay. And my phone just opened up to hackersarise.com. All right, here's the processing string, hackersarise. It sent that string, opened up that, everybody's favorite website. And if you give me a second, I will take and do a screenshot, okay, to show you that it opened up that on my phone, on this phone. And give me a second to get it into the system here, and there it is.
Nice.
And so this is a screenshot of my phone. As you can see, that's our 8th anniversary. I probably should have said this at the start. So this is our 8th anniversary. So we're having a big sale, and that's what comes up. That's our drop down ad. For those of you who don't like ads, I apologize, but that's the real life. And that's the drop down menu. If you're on our website and you see this, don't fret. Just simply click anywhere on the screen and the ad goes away. I've had lots of people say, "Oh, I can't read your tutorials because there's an ad in the way." Well, click away from it and the ad goes away. But in any case, when we're doing this recording, we're in our 8th anniversary, our 8th birthday celebration, and so we're offering 25%. So that's why that drop-down menu. But you can see how powerful this is that I can send any commands, okay, into the phone. In this case, what we did is we sent them to a website. You can send them to any website you want. You can imagine that things could get malicious here, or they could be a way of advertising. If there's I can imagine. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds here about what people could do with this, but just be creative and think about it. That there's lots of things that you can send directly in. Now this is on unpatched Android phones, the older phones, okay, before Android 11 cannot be patched. All right, so it applies to unpatched Android 11 and the future revisions, right? And then the ones before Android cannot be patched. All right, so there's a lot of phones that are going to be vulnerable to this type of attack. This is a 0-click attack. I didn't have to touch anything. I connected to the phone from, in this case, I'm working from my Kali system. It could be put into your phone and make it mobile, and then connect to Android devices. In this case, Android devices. There's also script for Linux and for Mac and for Windows. In this case, it's Android, and send whatever commands you want into that system. We just did it by simply injecting a website into their phone, and then their phone opens up to the website. So I think it's a really interesting development in the last couple months. So this came out, the original vulnerability came out in December, and then the proof of concept came out in January, and then this BlueDucky came out, I don't know, a couple of months ago or so. So there's a lot of possibilities that one can use this for. But I think it also highlights that Bluetooth is an underappreciated attack vector into the mobile device, right? It has a lot of vulnerabilities, and that's why we've decided to offer a class specifically on Bluetooth vulnerabilities and attacks.
Versions, so did you say prior to version 11 it can't be patched, but after version 11, so all the latest, if I have Android 14, I could still be vulnerable to this?
You could be if it's unpatched, right? So if you've never allowed for the security updates, right, then it's going to be unpatched. Those older phones cannot be patched.
Yeah.
So if you're in an area where people are using older phones, and oftentimes with Android, people keep phones around a long time. And so those systems cannot be patched, and you can simply inject commands directly into them.
It's a great example of why you should keep your stuff up to date, if you can.
Exactly. Yeah,
and
exactly.
why you don't want to have old devices necessarily. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I think it points out why security updates are so important, because these things are coming up all the time. There's constantly new vulnerabilities found, and the developers are constantly putting out new patches. We've seen in the last couple of months a lot of vulnerabilities come up for a variety of devices, including
firewalls.
Some firewalls came out, right?
Yeah.
People are connecting to firewalls, and disabling them. So there's all kinds of, so you need to keep these up to date. Of course, for a 0 day, there's not a whole lot that you can do, but as a minimum, as a security engineer, and if your responsibility for the organization is to keep it as safe as possible, one of the things you need to do is make sure that things are patched, right? But patching oftentimes creates its own problems. So this is why a lot of firms have their own patching area team that does it, because sometimes patches can break systems. So before you go ahead and roll out a patch on all of your systems, test it first, right? For the individual, that's probably not going to be a realistic. But often I find with individuals, sometimes people will put off patching because they don't want to go through the downloads and the
Yep.
wait for it. So there's I haven't tested, but I'll bet you there's millions of phones that this is going to work against that are unpatched.
So this was for Android, but you said there's Bluetooth attacks for Linux and Windows and other operating systems, right?
There's a separate proof of concepts out there against Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. So the vulnerability is in Bluetooth, right?
Yep.
But there's slightly different scripts to be able to exploit Bluetooth on those devices.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, Occupy the Web, neighbors are making a lot of noise with their speakers, right? So I think a lot of people, I'm not suggesting anyone do that, but if it's possible for someone to like hack their speakers and destroy them, then the music stops, right?
Well, you could. I mean, I haven't tried this, but I think that you could basically you can send any command into the system, right? And assuming it's a Linux system,
Yeah.
You could send something in, to shut down, for instance,
Yep.
or, RM-RF. Those of you who are Linux aficionados know what that'll do. It'll basically wipe out the entire operating system. So those are all possibilities, but this particular script, BlueDucky, only works against Android, but there are other proof of concepts out there for Linux, Mac, and Windows, which you could use to inject commands. So there's a lot of possibilities here, right? And there's so many Bluetooth connected devices. I mean, think about it. In your home, how many devices are using Bluetooth? One of the things that, talking about knocking out the speakers, one of the things that we've done is to be able to use a SDR, a software defined radio, to jam a Bluetooth speaker. So remember, not always, but oftentimes these speakers are Bluetooth speakers, right?
Yep.
And they're taking a 2.45 gigahertz message, the same as the Wi-Fi, same frequency, and actually same frequency as Bluetooth as well. And you can send out a jam signal and break up that signal. It doesn't stop it entirely. What it does is it garbles it, so that the person who's trying to blast their music in your next door is not going to get something that's pleasant. They're going to get something that's very disconcerting.
I think we should get you back for that one.
Okay, we'll plan on doing that one, so we can put on some really pleasant music and then basically send in a lot of noise, between the Bluetooth device that's sending the music to the speaker. So we can put in a bunch of garbage in between there, and what you end up with is a music that's very unpleasant to listen to. HackRF will work at 2.5 gigahertz, and it can send a signal. So yes, it works with that. It'll work with. In my case here, I was using the Lime Mini to do it, but I haven't tried it with the HackRF. I'll try it with the HackRF, and maybe we can do that in the future.
That'd be great.
And you'll see that the music just becomes a bunch of garbled mess, and so that the person who's is being obnoxious to all their neighbors by blasting their music is going to get a very unpleasant sounds coming out of their speakers, because what you do is that you're just sending in a bunch of random inputs into their device, into the stream between their devices. And so they get some of the music, but not all of it. And it becomes a bunch of very unpleasant sounds.
For everyone watching, let us know if you want to see that. I think it'll be fun. Obviously, don't recommend that you do that, but it's just show you the vulnerabilities, right, in this technology.
Will YouTube allow us to do that? Would that be something that will break their rules?
We'll take some like classical music or something that's non-copyright. So, Occupy the Web, we can't end the video without showing you books. I've had this book on display for the entire video, so hopefully someone noticed that. But you're also the author of Linux Basics for Hackers. So for everyone watching, we're still hoping to complete it, but we've done quite a few videos on this book. So I've linked that below. And also Network Basics for Hackers, which I love. Occupy the Web. Got to get you back for more videos on perhaps more Linux, more networking basics, and also becoming a master hacker.
And let's do some SDR as
That'd
well.
Be great,
some of these SDR, I think this is a really underappreciated area, is being able to hack radio signals, which, when people hear hacking radio signals, they think of their the music player in their car or in their home, but there's so many of the devices in our world use radio for communication.
We've got a lot to cover, man. So thanks again for sharing, OTW. Really appreciate you coming on the channel and, freely sharing your knowledge. It's always been in the past, I think, sometimes where people have hoarded their knowledge, but I really appreciate you sharing. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, David.
I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it, and please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. I'm David Bombal, and I want to wish you all the very best.